Good morning, Matt Waldman. It's Monday. It's like 11 days before the start of the NFL season, and that probably explains why I'm 3 hours behind 15 minutes into the day. How are you?
I'm doing great, and that magazine behind you looks pretty fucking awesome, I gotta say. Yeah, Bob Harris, editor of that magazine over there, the Football Guys mag, really nice piece of work. I would even say, even if your drafts are over and you wanted to take a look at something that has more evergreen content than what you're going to find in any other football magazine, fantasy football magazine, you should get this. It is probably the best looking magazine I've been a part of, and I've worked with someone for 20 years who was a part of those magazines. Yes. So go to footballguys.com, check it out.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and it is a little bit of a collector's item, kind of a little celebration of 25 years of Football Guys, on top of some great content, and of course the Matt Waldman explaining why I want to have tears, not the kind rolling down my face, but the kind in my rankings. I have both.
Well, we're gonna have a good time today. I think we got a lot of things going on.
We do. Let's start out with, as we were beginning to record this show, we got the news that Terry McLaurin signed a 3-year deal worth up to $96 million with the Washington Commanders. This is no surprise. Checking the draft price, where are you at on him? Is this something we're going to forget ever happened to come October?
I don't know. I think that when you stay away from camp and you're just kind of jogging off to the side and you're not really playing, there is a chance that your body isn't really weaponized enough for you to stay healthy. And so I think there is a slight increase where you might say muscle pulls, ankle sprains, ligament tendon type of stuff could be an issue. And then Washington Commanders fans are going to be really upset about that. But I think that as long as everything stays intact with him, he's a veteran, very good receiver. That should help them get up some speed, and Jaden Daniels should be breathing a big sigh of relief. And I probably would move. I'll probably move Jaden Daniels up maybe another spot or two up the rankings.
So McLaurin had fallen. He had been going like early on in drafts about wide receiver 13, 14 range. He's fallen to 19, going after our guy. Used to be my guy. Now it's our guy, Devontae Adams. Matt Waldman fully bought in. And maybe we did it separately. Maybe I had no impact on any of this. Maybe it was his own research. I read the gut check. You all do too.
I read your work. Yeah.
We're both love Devontae Adams, so we'd be taking him ahead. Mike Evans, I think I'm still taking ahead. Garrett Wilson, some of these players. But like, let's say you're looking now, deciding between Marvin Harrison Jr. and McLaurin, or DJ Moore, or DK Metcalf, Cortland Sutton, some of the pieces around him. Are you more likely to go McLaurin, or are you still thinking I want to step back a little bit, given those values?
I still think I want to step back a little bit with if I could get like Sutton. Maybe DJ Moore because of the way he could be used in a variety of ways. And just that I think that those teams, their offenses are on the way up, whereas with Washington, I wonder if it's just going to stay steady or plateau a bit just because, again, second year, their system is very specific about a lot of the stuff that they did, and we've been through this before.
Matt Waldman still hates Jaden Daniels. So we all know this is true.
There we go. We got the Fox News, MSNBC, pick your political side of the position version of that right there. There we go. I prefer the ProPublica version. There we go.
Of course you do.
Yeah, a little more investigative
there
nuance.
Probably is a little more context to that than I just laid out there.
Yes,
I'm going to
but nice try, Bob. Nice try.
I really acknowledge. I'm with you though. I think for the value, I'm probably like. I do have some shares from Ronian C. Look, this was the outcome all along. There's no way you're not paying Terry McLaurin, and we've talked about it 100 times on this program. But when you paid Deebo Samuel $2 million or more this year than you were going to pay Terry McLaurin, you knew you were going to pay Terry McLaurin more. It was inevitable. It was just a matter of how much. And
Daniel Snyder has left the building for sure.
And the details are a little slim on this right now. I think the up to $96 million is probably the telling part. Keon Coleman in Buffalo, currently being drafted as wide receiver 48, very affordable, 112th pick overall. Let's see. Do we think he has reasonable fantasy value this year? Feel it or fuck it.
Oh, I'm feeling it. I think that
what he last year.
Me too. Yeah. But what he does after the catch is very strong, and that's one of the things that they realized about him is that you can let him run after the catch and put him in situations where he can do that. He's good on slants. He's good on physical routes. And if they decide to let Josh Allen throw the ball downfield some, Keon Coleman can do that too as a ball winner. Now, it's not as reliable as having a speedster who can get 1 to 2 steps of separation on a regular basis, but I think Coleman's physicality, his nuance with routes will get better so that he'll earn a little bit more separation and maybe a little more trust from Josh Allen. But I would say if Josh Allen won't hit Dalton Kincaid or Khalil Shakir with enough of those trust me throws, how the fuck's he going to do it with Keon Coleman? Because I don't think Joe Brady wants that kind of ball to be played in Buffalo.
Yeah, that is a fact. I wrote about it in this weekend's fantasy notebook. You can find that at the Football Guys website. But that's Brady's plan is like if somebody covered, don't go to him.
Yeah.
You don't have to go back to the next player. If he calls a play for Khalil Shakir and it doesn't work out, that doesn't mean you have to turn around and go back to Khalil Shakir to make him happy. And what was the end result last year? It was the lowest interception rate of Josh Allen's career, not forcing the ball into places. Now, I felt like he made an effort to make at least Keon Coleman feel welcome. I don't want to overstate the case, right? Like he put some throws to him and gave him some opportunities to excel. And I don't know if he fell a little short of the excelling. I thought this was a good landing spot for him when he landed. And I like this. So maybe it's a little bit of wish casting on my part, hoping that he delivers. But I think that price is reasonable enough to find out. Wide receiver 4 price. But remember that. Remember the part where there is going to be no big name. There isn't going to be no primary target in Buffalo if Joe Brady has his way. It's going to be a little whack-a-mole, a little Green Bay Packers northeast or north or eastern. From where I am, everything is northeast.
I mean, Joe Brady made Justin Jefferson seem like an also ran in his offense in LSU.
Yeah, there you have it. So yeah, I like that. Dalton Kincaid, the same offense. Nobody's buying this guy. Is his career in Buffalo essentially dead? Field or fuck it?
Oh, fuck yes, it's dead. I would say if Kyle Pitts doesn't work out in Atlanta needs to come and break this guy loose from the jail that's Buffalo's offense, because the thing that Kincaid does best is win those throw me open targets, and the thing that Michael Penix does best is throw me open targets. And it would be a match made in heaven if Pitts can't somehow figure it out with Penix. And I just think that with what we talked about in that offense, there's just no way that we're going to see Kincaid reach the zenith of his career potential unless there's a shit ton of injuries and he's really the only guy they go to, and Brady has to abandon the whack-a-mole offense.
Yeah, Kincaid has looked reasonably good in camp, but I think that the bigger picture problem and what we've seen from him so far is going to be a limiting factor, but it's why he's going so late in drafts. You can get him as a free square, essentially, play. Same with Malik Washington in Miami. I saw him make a play this past weekend. It was very exciting. Little catch, a little run after the catch kind of thing that looked really good. Is he someone we should have our eye on as fantasy investors, feel it or fuck it?
I'm feeling it. I think if you're a Tyreek Hill or Jaden Waddle guy in terms of that you've landed either of those guys, having Malik Washington as your kind of handcuff to both is probably a really good way to go, because Washington is fast enough at 4.47. He has really good speed. He's quicker than, say, Wan'Dale Robinson. He has more vertical explosion with his leaping ability, much more than Wan'Dale Robinson, and he's a much more physical player at the catch point and after the catch than Wan'Dale. So I think that you could use Washington in the slot right now, but if one of those other guys gets hurt, he can function as more of like a middle-class version of Santana Moss as opposed to a middle-class version of Wan'Dale Robinson. I disagree with you, Bloom. That's Bloom said he's a middle class Wan'Dale Robinson, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not.
Well, I know when you threw out the Moss, it's what's coming here. I don't disagree with this at all. I mean, like it's something to watch. Like just the hinkiness around Tyreek Hill. Like obviously, I'm not going to be drafting him in redraft leagues, but is he going to be on my waiver wire watch list? Or if I'm investing in Dynasty and I see he's available for a song and a dance or something, I can get him for free as part of another deal that's more important to me, I will probably do that, and we'll see where it goes. I don't know. I guess the bigger question, Matt, is can Mike McDaniel get the turnaround he needs this year to keep this offense in place for us as fantasy investors without some great success? I'm guessing there's probably an impatient owner, impatient 90-something-year-old owner, wishing he was doing better more quickly.
In theory, the answer is yes, especially with the personnel that they have and the skilled personnel. The offensive line makes it a question mark. Tua Tagovailoa's ability to throw the ball with velocity in certain ranges of the field also may be an issue, and that offense, when it gets forced into a corner, Tagovailoa can't throw his way out of that in ways that top quarterbacks can. And that may be the limiting factor here. And if it proves to be, then this offense is going to be a disaster. It's going to fall apart again, or be hindered enough that people are going to have overinvested in some of these guys.
Maybe we need to go back from South Beach McDaniel to Nerdy McDaniel, the guy who showed up versus the guy who's there now. I don't know. There's a lot of talk in the local media about culture being needed and things like that. So we'll see what goes on. But,
I got more thoughts about McDaniel later.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I talked to Fred Greetham of the Orange and Brown Report. He's covering the Browns on a daily basis. He was really excited about Harold Fannin Jr. So let me ask you, Matt Waldman, Harold Fannin Jr., a top 15 fantasy tight end this year. Feel it or fuck it?
I'm feeling it's a possibility. I'm not going to automatically say fuck it, because of the fact that we've talked about before. 2 tight end sets. They're going back to that a lot more with Stefanski. They've used Fannin all over the field all summer long. They keep saying that he's more than just a tight end. He's a weapon in our offense. He's more like a receiver than he is a tight end. So who gives a fuck what Dante Johnson and Jamari Thrash might be doing, or maybe even Isaiah Bond if they were to try dare use him in the slot. I think that Fannin might be that third receiver in the group. We may see it as being Jerry Jeudy, David Njoku, and then it's going to be a split between Cedric Tillman and Harold Fannin. It could go that way, but that's the problem, is that you might take him as a lottery pick last, late in your draft at the very last pick, only just to see how this starts to work out. If injury happens to Njoku, or we see Tillman and or another receiver get banged up, Fannin could very well be that top 15 player. So definitely a waiver wire watch now that we're through with a lot of drafts. I think Fannin's one of those guys should be near the top of your waiver wire list.
I wanted to just say, David Njoku in the 5-game stretch, the magical 5-game stretch with Joe Flacco 2 years ago, the comeback player of the year, 300 yards a game. I don't know if we're going to see that this year. David Njoku is tight end 5 over that span. He's going to be very busy. And so people are going to focus on that, perhaps I being one of those people, without realizing how versatile a role that Fannin might play. So he's definitely a guy, and probably not drafting him, but will be on my waiver wire watch list based on these very conversations with super wily Matt Waldman. Dante Thornton, this is mine. Dante Thornton is going to deliver on the preseason buzz. Fuck yes.
Okay, tell me why. Any more? You got any more to say?
Yeah, I have more to say.
All right.
6'5", 4'3". And I'll expand further.
All right.
Geno Smith's been making a concerted effort to get him part of the thing, but this is the great Sesame Street, analysis. One of these things is not like the other. He's big, he's fast. They say, he was pretty limited in college, and in terms of the routes, is what I was told. Sounds like he's doing a better job of that, or at least he's improving in that regard throughout the course of OTAs and camp. The people there cover the team on a daily basis say it's undeniable that he has stood out. Jack Besh, the guy that we thought was drafted to be the number 2, is now sitting at number 4. And Thornton, it looks like he's on the path to now. Look, this is not a guy you should be out there drafting, any sooner than you. He's a late round flyer. I think I've got him in some maybe 18th, 19th round picks. in that range, if he's there, I think that's perfectly reasonable. Geno Smith, has been a very serviceable quarterback. I think this is going to be a run-heavy offense, but assuming there's some plays to be made, maybe at some point Dante Thornton can make them. Either way, in Dynasty, he should definitely be on your radar.
I'm feeling your take. I would say I'd say
I'm over-enthusiastic.
Overall, I'd say fuck it. I'm not believing in him, and only because a lot of the plays that he made are preseason-like plays, and I think Ted Wynn of The Athletic, who I think does good work, said, look, on the one hand, it's great to see Thornton come down with a couple of contested catches, but he's struggling to create separation on backups in the preseason. And he says, I think he'll be fine in his role as the deep threat run blocker on the outside, but I think people are getting ahead of themselves with Thornton expectations first year coming out of a deep choice offense. And so I think what that means is that with Brock Bowers being as good as he is, you're probably going to see Thornton stretch the field and be more of a sacrificial X. Now, I think as a best ball guy, he'd be fantastic. Play.
Yes.
So I agree with that.
100%. And look, I don't want to overstate the case. My enthusiasm overstates the case because I get excited about guys who have the two things you can't coach: size and speed. Right?
Yeah,
he has those things, right? You can't like those things are undeniable. Also, 25 yards of catch in college. I mean, but a very narrow band of production to work with, just generally speaking. So
when he comes out of the tunnel, do you imagine him on the top of a hood of a car with wind, like a fan blowing?
Yes, that.
Okay, I thought so. Slow motion.
100%.
Does he when he tilts his head a certain way? Yeah. Okay.
Oh, anyway. He tilts it that way all the time. Just to be clear, my enthusiasm and excitement is for him as what he is.
Yeah.
A late round flyer.
Yeah.
Not a guy that you are going to have in your starting lineup any week until he demonstrates some ability to produce on a consistent basis, which is entirely possible not to happen this year. But in best ball, you're right, he's fantastic. And also, in redraft, I am taking shots on him again in the 18th or 19th round, right before I start diving into the kickers and defenses. So there you have that. RJ Harvey in Denver is a better than his preseason buzz, Matt. Feel it or fuck it.
I'm feeling it. I mean, I love J.K. Dobbins as a player and a talent, and I think that he's going to have the biggest role. But I think we're going to see a lot more out of Harvey as a receiver. I thought his running was just fine from what I saw on tape. He made pretty good decisions, and he's a dynamic player. And so as a number 2 to J.K. Dobbins, I think we're going to see some solid games out of him from fantasy. And I think he's only going to grow into a bigger role. And if Dobbins gets hurt, they may just force their way into using Harvey more often. And I think Harvey is someone who could be up to the task.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm still I find the value in Dobbins. I end up with way more of him in drafts as I have over the course of training camp, just because it's been as much of a 4 as a 4-rounder or more difference. So I'm buying the cheaper piece of the puzzle and probably looking elsewhere at the price range where our people are landing Harvey. But I'm hoping for the best for the young man, because now that you've said he's maybe better, I don't want you to look foolish.
Well, thank you for your consideration. I mean, because I'm so worried about looking foolish.
Kaleb Johnson. Let's do the same thing here. He's better than his preseason buzz. Feel it or fuck it.
Oh, fuck yes, he is. And I think that the temporary concern that he didn't look as good as they wanted him to in the first preseason game has been dispelled a bit by the next 2 preseason contests and how he performed. The team was very excited. The coaches were excited about what they saw. And I think that this is a team that understands how to coach. They may not understand how to assuage fantasy GMs or fantasy analysts, but they do know how to coach. And they put their players in good situations, but they also know how to expect their players to do a little bit better and push a little more. And you want to push your rookies a little bit more. And I think that that's what Mike Tomlin did through the media a bit. And Johnson, worked on the things he needed to read and got a little more comfortable. And I feel good about him. I think the problem with Johnson in fantasy circles is that the draftniks were really split on him. And because he's big but not super fast, they felt like that they were a little splitting down on him, and you get a lot of guys saying, well, his footwork's not good, and he doesn't, he isn't very fast. He's a plotter, but I think he's more than that, and I think he's, one thing Arthur Smith knows is running backs. I'll say that, and he understands how to create a running game, and I think he really valued Johnson, and this was his guy, I believe, and I think we're going to see that play out in a positive way.
So, I want to say I'm ambivalent towards him. I think it's a good landing spot for him, for over the long term. I think when you go to a team where you have a 40-plus-year-old quarterback who needs to be you're all in. Your season success depends on Aaron Rodgers remaining in the locked and upright position. Kaleb Johnson has to show that he's a good pass blocker, and I don't know that he's done that yet. Maybe he has. I'm probably I've been drafting more Jaylen Warren. It's not cost prohibitive, and feel like right now I'm leaning back on something I heard last year, where it was an Ed Bouchette, who's been around a while. He thought the notion that they weren't picking up the option on Najee Harris at that time was an indication of things he'd heard in the building, that some people there thought Jaylen Warren was their back of the future and maybe the best back on the roster. It could be an exciting player. So I'm going to invest in that right now, and we'll see how it goes with Kaleb Johnson. Again, I'm not against him. I take your word for it. He's very good. But I don't know if the circumstance is very good this year, and that's my concern. So I'm not fucking him, but I'm not feeling him either.
Ed can move back down to Louisiana with Bloom. He's got a Louisiana name anyway.
Well, let's face it. Kaleb Johnson is neither 6'5" nor runs a 4.3. That's all I'm saying.
That's true.
Don't see him on the hoods of many cars.
You don't. That's for sure. He probably won't. But he will leave a mark on your ass when he rear ends you on the way to the end zone, like a fucking dump truck that he is.
Omarion Hampton, I'm told he can do those same things. Is he going too high in drafts, field or fuck it?
Yes, because I think that Najee Harris actually is a pretty good back, and I don't trust Pittsburgh media or Pittsburgh fans, as we've talked about, when it comes to judgment with running backs. So Hampton's already looks like he's going to play week 1. There's already talk about that in the news. Surprise. Najee Harris, is going to play. So I think you're going to see a split between them. Hampton is a bruiser. He can drag people. He can run through contact. Whether he spots the right creases all the time is a little bit of a question right now. And can he work through some lower leg wraps a little bit better? That's the thing we're going to see tested with him. But I think you're going to see a switch, and I think a split. It's going to be an even split. And that means that, Hampton's going a little high. There's a lot of people who still are on I believe he's Ashton Genty's 1B to Ashton Genty's 1A. He's like they're neck and neck in terms of talent. I don't think that's the case, but he's a good back. But I think Harris is better than people realize, and there's a reason why they're going to do a split.
Yeah, we're going to agree on this one. I think the running back 14, he's gone from 16 to 14. Over the course of camp, people have gotten pretty enthusiastic about him. I have not joined in that enthusiasm for the reason you said. I mean, even Greg Roman was talking about, we're gonna run him with somebody else until Najee's ready.
No matter what,
Hassan Haskins, whoever it is.
Kamani Vidal.
yeah, somebody.
Yeah.
And so, I'm not I just feel like the price is too high for a guy that's going to split. I would rather, here come. Bring it, haters. I would rather have Kenneth Walker. I don't think there's going to be a split. And I know there's been some mixed reporting on that over the last week. I have talked to 3 different beat writers now. It's 2 to 3 at the moment for my narrative. But, I've got to admit, if something happens to Kyron Williams or Kenneth Walker, I'm going to be out of luck on this. I'm drafting him as if he's going to have that running back 1 upside over a guy like Omarion Hampton. So
we all got to take risks.
We all got to take our risks. That's one of mine. So there we have it. I'm with you on Hampton. I think there's going to be way more splitting than I am comfortable with. So there's that. Cortland Sutton is right. Marvin Mims will be the number 2 wide receiver in Denver, field or fuck it.
I'm going to say fuck it. I've come around on Cortland over the years, even though he's still, I look at his technique and I just wonder sometimes. But Marvin Mims, the route profile with him is so crazy, as Matt Harmon's reception perception has noted, that it's strange in terms of one of the strangest he's seen. But it felt like last year that they had to work really hard to create offense through Marvin Mims, using him out of the backfield more than using him as just a regular receiver. And Troy Franklin has played well enough, and Pat Bryant has played well enough that they're going to see looks. And then you have Evan Ingram in the mix. So I'll say this. I'm feeling that Marvin Mims will be the wide receiver too, but I'm also feeling that Evan Ingram will be the pass catcher number 2 in this offense. And Pat Bryant might technically be the wide receiver 3, but could wind up being the pass catcher number 3. And then Troy Franklin could wind up actually overtaking Mims. So I think just anything saying wide receiver 2 in the offense, as Sean Payton said, is a kind of a crapshoot right now for us. I think that's more the truth, and it's probably not what you're going to want to go after fantasy-wise, unless you're getting the latest guy, the Bob Harris special.
Right. I think I'm heavily invested in Bo Nix, so I do have some late round shares in Mims. Seems like a guy that Sean Payton's talked up, and we are hearing more about Troy Franklin. So, I probably will not make those investments anymore. I'll sit with where I'm at, and I don't know that I'll be investing in Franklin either. I'll probably focus on getting Sutton and Evan Ingram. But we'll see. I like the Mims playmaking ability showed last year, but it's not something I feel like I need to have. Maybe better fastball. And I'm trying to flip that switch, right?
Yeah.
It's the time of year, Matt, where you have to flip from the best ball mindset to the regular redraft mindset. And I've been trying to do that over the last couple of weeks, and still the back of my head is going shares, portfolio, exposure, filling holes, all these things. So I need to get out of that mindset, and probably that's where Mims has put me. The Chiefs are going to go vertical on the league this year. Feel it or fuck it.
I want to say feel it, and I think I'm gonna do so, mainly because I believe in Mahomes and Reed. I believe in Xavier Worthy. I think that they've been trying to make a concerted effort to do it in the preseason, and I think they believe that they have found an antidote to some of these umbrella coverages that they were facing, either to prevent them from occurring or to foil them. And I think that's what we're going to see this year. So yeah, I kind of feel like Mahomes is the bargain of the top 5 to top 7 quarterbacks.
That seems reasonable. They've stated their case. They've said what they want to do. I think that's, when you have a team that has the kind of accomplished quarterback that they do, the kind of coach they do, and both of them are saying the same thing. And they've been saying it since the start of OTAs. We're going deeper. The ADOT for Mahomes has dropped every year, it seems like, since Tyreek Hill's gone, and they seem to want to put a concerted effort onto it. So I'm with you, too. They're going to go more vertical and open things up for Isaiah Pacheco, who's looked great so far in training camp. I'm very happy about
the mini stomper. Yeah.
The mini stomper. All right, Caleb Williams is going to take a big statistical leap forward this year. Feel it or fuck it.
I'm feeling that's a possibility. I haven't quite allowed myself to get bold enough to put him as a top 7 quarterback in this league this year. I still have him in the top 15, I think, more than anything, in the lower end of that. But I feel like the more and more I look at this offense, the more I see the adjustments that they made, the more I think people are just going to realize how dead wrong they were about Williams and where all this is leading. I think there's people who still think of him as a bust, and I don't think he's remotely a bust. I think there's a stronger possibility of him being a 4,500 to 4,700 yard passer with 35 to 40 touchdowns this year than there is of him being a bust. A much greater chance.
I don't want to put too much magical powers into Ben Johnson, but I think he does have some magical powers. He's proven to be a pretty good coach who's gotten the most out of the players in Detroit. But I like the things he focused on, right? He came in there, shored up the offensive line, just like Dave Canales did in Carolina. That led to some success. We'll see if he focused on the run. But also, all the focus all offseason, and the thing that Ben Johnson talked about was those sacks last year. A lot of those were on Caleb Williams. That can't happen, right? Right. You can shore up the offensive line, but that's only one piece of the equation. And so they put a lot of emphasis on Caleb Williams, taking accountability, getting the ball out of his hands, being mindful of the pocket. Also, the focus on getting him up to 70% completion rate. They probably won't get there, but that's the focus. They're putting a lot of effort into making him better. And I think the Bears view this as a longer-term rebuild than maybe we would like to see it as fantasy managers, where Ben Johnson comes in and the Bears are automatically fantastic. I don't think they're automatically fantastic, but I think they're automatically better. And I agree with you. I think Caleb Williams will get better this year. And are we going to see that 4,000 yards, Matt Field, or fuck it?
Yeah, I've had him at 4,032 touchdowns since May, and I don't think that, to me, that's the baseline, because a lot of guys are going to be at 4,000 who are outside your top 15 quarterbacks. But I think for him, what it is that it's not so much that Ben Johnson is a superhero. It's that Ben Johnson is at the very lowest is competent versus right. Gross 100%. Incompetence. And a competent coach is also going to say, you know what? Who's the leader of my offense? Caleb Williams. Who am I going to put on his shoulders to say you got to get better at certain things? Even though we all know that there's a unit that sucks balls, last year, what they did, and there was a confluence of factors. So I would say that, right. Yeah, Williams can take that and be like, fine, I can handle this. And he was that guy last year. We knew he was the guy that could deal with the shittiest offense and still be decent. And most people don't realize he only threw 6 interceptions last year. They act like he threw like 26.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. He has a piece there that people have not been talking about much, and maybe should be talking about more. Olamide Zaccheaus, is he worth a late round stab?
Yeah, I think he is. Dave Kluge texted me the other day and was like, what do you think of this? And I said, well, Zaccheaus in Atlanta, was this deep threat. And that's how he made the team, as a deep threat in camp. But what he was at UVA was a former running back who they used out of the backfield and in the slot and let him use his yak skills. You can see how that's a perfect fit in Ben Johnson's offense with all that open space underneath, but he can also be versatile enough to play outside when you need him. And I think that it also gives him a runway for Luther Burden. You got a veteran who can play the first month, even as a starter if you need to, and you can reinforce the Burden like you've been reinforcing to the rest of this team. You got to be assignment sound. You got to learn the offense. You got to do the little things. You got to understand the details. And when we feel like you're ready for the details, we're going to turn you loose and let you do your thing. And so I don't think Zaccheaus is a better player than Luther Burden overall long term, but it's very possible that they go, we have the luxury of making sure Burden does everything we want him to, and we don't have to throw him into the mess right away. So if you panic about Burden not starting or getting enough snaps in the first 2 to 3 weeks of the season, I think he becomes a buy low candidate, because unless he just turns it into an absolute immature ass, and like Jermaine Burton's his way off the team, you're going to see Burden grow his way into a bigger role and could wind up being a dominating role by the end of the year.
I talked to Zach Pierce of Bear Report about a week ago, and that's exactly how he laid it out. Like the play would be Zaccheaus early and then Burden coming on. And I think, like most people that I've heard from, and definitely Pearson, seem to think that like Burden's getting it, and like some of the tough coaching and things like that we heard early on. First of all, everyone was getting that tough coaching.
Yes.
His might have been publicized more, but everyone's getting the same treatment. But also that it's probably a good thing for him, and I'm with you on this one. Tez Johnson, they call him the Slimmer Reaper. Okay, maybe they don't. Is worth monitoring in Tampa.
I like Slimmer Man and the Reaper all put together. We could kind of go for that, and he is worth monitoring. I mean, he's very tough in the middle of the field for a little guy. He's unbelievably quick. He offers return game possibilities, RPO possibilities, as well as middle of the field slot work. And people he didn't get drafted high because he was so small. But there was a guy named Gerald Ice Cube McNeil that we talked about this spring, played for the Cleveland Browns at about 150 pounds, 155 pounds, who had 2 Pro Bowls as a returner in an era where basically safety forgot. There was nothing called player safety in the era that he played in the early to mid 80s. So I think Johnson has that potential to be a good bye-week flex value down the line. Maybe not this year, but if with injuries persist, yes, it could happen.
Right, attrition is a thing. I mean, they need bodies. He's shown up since we're not going to have Godwin, we're not going to have McMillan. I think we're going to see a little bit of him, and maybe it's just good news for dynasty investors who maybe you see him get a chance to develop a little more quickly than he otherwise would have. But this team is building, it seems like, a passing attack for the long term, right? Like they realize Mike Evans is not long for his career. They realize Chris Godwin, they got another 3 years. But after that, I mean, I think there's going to be plenty of room, and I think this organization is forward thinking in that regard. It seems Cleveland Browns won't be accused of forward thinking very often, but in this case, is the Browns Quinshon Judkins situation? Is this a negotiation tactic? Feel it or fuck it?
I think a little bit. There's a little bit of that put in there, and the fact that they called other teams for running backs. Part of that may have to do with the off-field investigation that's ongoing with the NFL, but another part of it is with the fact that they offered him a deal and he hasn't really budged on the offering, and I think they want a discount after what happened, and with the unknowns of what's going on, and so when he didn't budge, I think they started calling around to also get his agent a little bit stirred up in all of this mess and see if they could get him to capitulate a bit.
Yeah, I saw some reporting this morning, a little speculation that could Judkins go back to college. I think there's a lot of public, negotiating going on, and we'll see how it plays out. The second round picks all got like a little higher money, everything slotted in, but somebody up ahead of him got a better guarantee, so everyone's getting better guarantees. This might just be them trying not to pay so much guaranteed money. We'll see. I do think we're at the point in drafts where Judkins is why not, right? Like there comes a point in draft where, like, I'm not there with Joe Mixon yet because there's still too much mystery, but I still think if Judkins plays at some point, you're getting in the 12th round, a guy is likely to be a starting running back for an NFL team for some period of time. Him and the great Nick Chubb. Like Nick Chubb's growing on me. Like in the 12th round, he's going to start some games. I mean, I don't care what he looks like if he's going to have the ball in his hands.
People are going to forget all the overthinking fantasy analysts did with Quinshon Judkins.
Right.
Like in week 8 or 9 when he begins to start, they're all going to be breathless in their clickety bait talking about, wanting that we need to get we need to add Quinshon Judkins if that happens,
Skylar Thompson might be a name to dust off. Feel it or fuck it, Matt.
Yeah, I'm feeling it. Of course I'm feeling it. But I think part of it is that, talking to my buddy Steve Vogt, who keeps up with the Steelers and is a Steelers fan, and he likes to plug in with all these beat writers. The tender's gone from he's not even going to make the roster that he might even beat out Mason Rudolph for the number 2 spot. And I've always liked Thompson out of college. I had him as my highest rated quarterback in 2022 in that dreadful class where basically Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, was the best quarterback out of the group, but it included Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis, and Desmond Ridder as the guys that people were all favored with. And I realized I kind of put an asterisk next to my Skylar Thompson love because I knew he wasn't going to get drafted high, but I had him scored the highest. And when you watched him in Miami, it was a good preseason looks. Pittsburgh had good preseason looks. But I'm kind of wondering, when I look at Mike McDaniel, when they put Skylar Thompson in, they limited the passing game. They did not let him throw downfield often at all in the regular season. And it seemed like they literally chopped the offense in half. And I thought at first that might just be an indictment on Skylar Thompson early in his career. But I think they did it because they wanted to stay playoff worthy and they wanted to stay close in games, and they did. And their receivers dropped balls, but they wouldn't let Thompson really attack the way he did at Kansas State. And I'm thinking in Pittsburgh, we're seeing them attack more downfield, and I bet they would leave the governor off that. And I think McDaniel, coming from that high controlling West Coast type of mindset, I think he just looked at Thompson even in year 3 and wouldn't let him go downfield. And I would bet if Skylar Thompson somehow becomes a success, say Aaron Rodgers gets hurt and somehow he gets in and he blows up and plays well, they're going to interview him about his time in Miami. He's going to say they put a governor on me when they let me start early on. From what I watched, it looked that way. So I don't think that's going to happen, but I think there's a shot that he's the number 3 quarterback on the team at the very worst.
Yeah, fuck all that. No, I'm seriously. I have a lot of shares. Like I'm in Dynasty and Superflex, etc. And so I'm hopeful. There, at some point there's not going to be an Aaron Rodgers. We'll see what happens. I'm not. I'm not overstating the case here. So
Yeah.
we'll go from there. Max Brosmer is a name we should know for the future, especially after some of the moves over the weekend in Minnesota.
Yeah, Brosmer's out of Roswell, Georgia, not far from me. And he went to, I don't know, some sort of non-public school, I think, somewhere. But he's a player who is fundamentally sound with his drops, with the way that he does play action, how he reads the field. He has decent placement at times, moves in the pocket reasonably well. I don't know if he's Brock Purdy-esque, but he's certainly, maybe he has the same zip code as Brock Purdy, but not as nice of a neighborhood. But he's someone that's impressed in Minnesota, and you could see how they may give him a little deeper of a look if J.J. McCarthy flops and and Carson Wentz just, kaputs. But they're probably going to try and sneak him onto the roster through the practice squad at the very least. So for a dynasty standpoint, especially 2 quarterback leagues, he's one of those guys you want to keep an eye out for in case you're desperate for a week and you need to pull somebody off the waiver heap.
Yeah, and I mentioned the moves without clarifying. It's, Sam Howell traded, Brett Ripien released, Wentz added. So they did a series of moves, but Brosmer looks like a guy that maybe is going to stick around, and I'm interested in quarterbacks who play for Kevin O'Connell at some point if they get on the field. So we'll go with that. Isaac TeSlaa, overhyped this year. Feel it or fuck it?
Oh, I'm fucking feeling that.
You son of a bitch.
He's basically a Chase Claypool, Kenny Golladay type of player who's going to get looks because of the surrounding talent when he's on the field. But when's he going to be on the field? Is he beaten one-on-one coverage other than in a straight line against backup corners yet? I don't think so. He's made plays that you would expect a good college player to make. And I think he can turn into a good pro and a better pro than Claypool or Golladay. But he's going to get his best chance of that happening is if, say, Jameson Williams or Amon-Ra St. Brown get hurt, and they need him to be a guy and that they can plug in more often. But I don't think that's going to happen. Maybe they get some cheap looks on with him early in the season where he gets a lot of benefit. He's the beneficiary like Claypool did in that offense when they had Dante Johnson and Juju, in Pittsburgh, and they were playing well. But I don't think we're seeing that this year.
Yeah, you're saying it's not the 2018, 2019 Kenny Golladay. It's more like a different Kenny Golladay. I'm with you. I want to get excited. I probably do have some flyers on him in best ball on the off chance he catches the touchdown, but that's just because I'm spreading the wealth and building my portfolios and don't want to be invested in the same bunch of guys. I want a bunch of different guys. In redraft, I'm way more likely to take Dante Thornton than TeSlaa, but maybe I shouldn't be as excited about Thornton either. So according to Matt Waldman, but we'll see about that. Chris Rodriquez Jr., legitimate fantasy value as either the short yardage or goal line back or more with the Washington Commanders.
I think early on, or if there's an injury to somebody in this trio, then for sure he can have some legitimate fantasy value as a low-end running back too, or a flex play. But I think long-term, if we're going to look at it with everybody healthy, eventually it's going to be the Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt show as him being the lead back, and then you're going to see Austin Eckler used situationally, and then maybe what Rodriquez does is block, get short yardage on a limited basis where it's split more with Krosky-Merritt and special teams work. I think he's if Spencer Ware was a band, Chris Rodriguez would be like the weekend cover band that your rib joint hired once or twice a week. They're competent and they can get it done, but you're not paying arena money to see them.
If you like them, the price is right. I'll go with that. And I do think at some point it's the Krosky-Merritt show until it's not. When it's not, it's going to be the Rodriguez show, and we'll see how that plays out. Mason Taylor, a player we're both excited about. Am I as excited as you? Could he be the leading rookie tight end in 2025? Feel it or fuck it?
Oh, I absolutely feel it, even though everyone's got it between basically Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland, and then there's some of the Harold Fannin love that people think is gonna, those are three guys that possibly could do it. But I think, and then there's the Ferguson contingent who who like old Jakey.
Finally got to look at him.
Yeah, and certainly the one-on-one the corner routes. He's going to win corner routes. That's for sure. But I think that Mason Taylor might be the best all-around tight end of those options, and we know that Justin Fields leans hard on the tight end, so he might end up being the reception leader among tight ends this year.
Yeah, I feel like the narrow band of talent available in that receiving core, all due respect to the Josh Reynoldses and Malachi Corleys and all the rest of those guys, suggests a fairly robust role. We'll see how much they throw. There's a lot of talk that they're going to be very run heavy, Matt. We'll see. But nobody is 100% run heavy, and if he's the second option, I'm with you. I think he's going to have a very good season. I'm probably still taking. I don't know. I'm not taking a lot of Ty Warren. I'm taking a little bit of Loveland. Just hoping some of the look at me, still hoping for the Ben Johnson magic, the Laporta magic to rub off on Colston Loveland. We see some signs of it, but we'll see. I'm with you. I think Jordan Mason right now is being drafted well outside the tight end 1 range, well deep into the tight end 2s, maybe even in some cases you're finding him outside. Mason Taylor, I'm sorry, outside the tight end 2 range. So. The price is right, and I'm willing to take a chance on it given circumstances. I'm willing to take a chance on you, Matt Waldman. Feeling and fucking things today has been fantastic. I truly appreciate it.
Hey, it's always a pleasure, and I'm always grateful to have Bob Harris here with us, and because he's the first one to tell people to suck it, Pachacho. But go check out his work. Go check out the hot seat. Go check out his notebook. You're getting quality work. Of course, you're getting quality work with the magazine. That magazine, what he put together, really well done. We'll see.
And get the rookie scouting portfolio. Damn it,
yeah,
MattWaldman.com.
Hey, you could do that too. It's still quite viable right now. The pre-draft, post-draft, or you can get the dynasty rankings and projections that are updated throughout the year. And I'll have another newsletter out for the pre-draft, post-draft folks, probably at the end of this week, just before we hit September 1st. Y'all take care. And
love you all. Goodbye.
Bye.